Friends, to a new chapter today. The today's chapter is combustion and flame for class 8th. So, as you know, the chapters I teach on science is about concepts, and followed by the concepts would be questions and answers. So that will be in one of the descriptive links, which will be at the end of the concepts. So in the descriptive link you can go through all the important questions and answers which are relevant to the chapter. Now let's get started for the chapter combustion and flame. This is a chapter for class 8. So let's get started. This will cover all the concepts for combustion and flame. So the substances that burn in the air are called combustible. The substances that burn in the air are called combustible. What does this mean? This means that in the presence of air or oxygen in the atmosphere, some substances which will burn, they are combustible. Oxygen present in the air is essential for combustion. That's what I was telling you. During combustion, heat and light are given out. So oxygen is essential, and then also heat and light is given out when combustion takes place. Combustible substances can be solids, cow dung, wood, coal, charcoal. Wood, coal, charcoal, cow dung, basically, so these cow dung, which is used in villages, basically it is used as a fuel. So you burn cow dung and heat and light is produced. Coal, when you do a barbecue, it's the coal which you keep, which you actually use. So all these things are charcoal. All these things are in the solid form. Then we have the liquid, which is petrol and diesel, even kerosene oil. So the kerosene also, which is used in for cleaning the floor in your houses, is basically kerosene oil. And that's bluish in color. It's highly inflammable, which means in contact with air and a slight. If you even bring a slight matchbox, if you just light a matchbox and bring it near to the kerosene, do not do it. Never. It is highly inflammable. It will catch fire. Okay, so these are all liquids, and then gases like compressed natural gas. So basically these are fuels: cow dung, charcoal, wood, coal. So these are all fuels, and they are highly flammable or inflammable, you can say. Combustion. Combustion is a chemical process in which substance reacts with oxygen to give off heat. So basically I told you all that. It gives you heat and light. It is basically a chemical process by which heat is given out. Right? With heat, light is also emitted. So basically combustion is a chemical process. Example: candle burns with a flame to give heat and light. Right? Quite explicitly mentioned here. Charcoal and coal burns to produce CO2 plus heat plus light. Charcoal and coal, basically these are forms of carbon, and charcoal or coal, they are, when they burn, what is released? CO2, carbon dioxide, heat and light. Magnesium burns to form magnesium oxide, again to produce heat and light. So basically these are all elements which are there in the nature. If you burn magnesium in the presence of oxygen, magnesium oxide is produced with heat and light. So now we come to the third part: ignition temperature. Ignition temperature. What is ignition? When you actually try to switch on, not switch on, I'm sorry, like if you just use your, if you go, ignition is basically sparking, you igniting something, or when you give a spark to something. So let's see what ignition means over here. The lowest temperature at which a substance catches fire is called its ignition temperature. Very simple. Ignition temperature is the lowest temperature. It is the lowest temperature at which what happens? Any substance catches fire. So that's something which is very important. Can you burn paper by a matchstick? Can you burn paper by a matchstick? You can You burn. You usually we as kids used to do all that. Anyway, I think you as kids must have done this mischief. You can burn paper through a matchstick, but can you burn coal by matchstick? The black color coal. Can you burn through matchstick? You will have to keep the light. I don't know for matchstick for how long, and you will not be able to burn it in a few minutes. Not even in a few minutes. It will take some time. It might take. Basically, you will not be, because you have to get into that ignition temperature. You have to achieve the ignition temperature of coal to burn through a matchstick. So, in the first question, you can burn paper, but to burn coal with paper, and a matchstick needs to put kerosene oil. So remember, like when you must have done, your parents must have done a barbecue. So in a barbecue, what happens? There is a coal, and then you have to heat some of your cooking items. So you use coal, try to heat the coal or burn the coal by putting paper and then a slight kerosene oil. And so what happens? Kerosene oil is inflammable, and with a slight spark of matchstick, kerosene will start burning, and so would coal would catch fire, right? So that's the whole concept. This indicates different substances catch fire at different temperatures. So what this means, that different substances will catch fire at different temperatures, right? Which means the ignition temperature and the temperature at which any substance catches fire will be different for different substances. Inflammable substances. Petrol, kerosene oil have very low ignition temperature. Petrol, kerosene oil have very low ignition temperature, which means even with a slight spark of matchstick, it will catch fire. They have a very low ignition temperature. The ignition temperature is not very high, so they will easily catch fire. Kerosene at room temperature does not catch fire. Kerosene at room temperature, like if this is the room temperature, if you just keep kerosene, it will not catch fire, even if it is open. But a slight heat given to kerosene, it will catch fire. So what it says, however, if it is lighted by a matchstick or heated a little, it will catch fire. It will be in flames, right? It will be in flames. Wood will have to be heated for a longer time. Right? Same way. Wood. So it is not just, you can keep wood for in the room temperature, and you have to heat it. Maybe you can use just try to burn a piece of wood by maybe putting it maybe by another wood which is already burning. So it will take some time, or you can use a candle to burn a wood. If the wood is thick, it will take time. If the wood is very thin slice of wood, then it might burn. So it will take some time, but it will not be like kerosene. Kerosene, you just have a little, you just bring candle next to kerosene and it will just be in flames. So which means it will reach its ignition temperature at a much quicker time. So because the ignition temperature of kerosene is lower than that of wood. This is what it means. The substance which this means ignition temperature of kerosene is less than wood. The substances which have a very low ignition temperature and can catch fire with a flame are called inflammable substances, like kerosene and petrol. So basically, we were discussing about inflammable substances. First we talked about the ignition temperature, and then we talked about the inflammable substances. So substances which achieve their ignition temperature at a very low point and which catches fire easily are inflammable substances, like kerosene and petrol. So this is what it mentions here. Very important. The substances which have a very low ignition temperature, and can catch fire with a flame are called inflammable substances. Fire to catch. Now the next point is fire to catch needs three things. So basically, fire. We know about fire. We know about the fire brigade. We know about the firefighters. So what firefighters do? They try to lessen the fire, or they try to extinguish. Extinguish is the word. They try to extinguish the fire, right? So and people who do this are the brave people, firefighters. So what happens whenever fire takes place? There are three things why the fire takes place. Fuel. There is some fuel there, or something which is combustible. It could be kerosene or it could be anything. So first is the fuel. Second is air supply, oxygen. You need oxygen or air supply. There must be some oxygen or there must be some oxygen or some air supply, because of which fuel is burning. So we understand that if there is less of air supply, or if the oxygen supply is cut, then the thing which has caught fire will can be stopped, right? So it will be disrupted. So air supply has to be cut off somehow. And last but not the least, the third part is heat. So if the third is heat, or to raise the temperature of the fuel, or to raise the temperature of the fuel greater than the ignition temperature. Yes, very important. Third is the heat. So whenever we reach the ignition temperature, the material or substance will catch fire. So which means if the heat is above the ignition temperature, it will catch fire. So these three things. So for the catch fire to take place, three things are in any order. So the first was heat. So if the ignition temperature is higher than in heat, what happens if the temperature is above the ignition temperature, then it will catch fire. And then we discuss about fuel. So the fuel, and then the air supply. So these three things are important for fire to take place. Firefighters try to control all or any of these to bring it down. They try to control all or any of these to bring it down by using water. So water is always there in a fire brigade. Water is actually cooling. It has a cooling effect. So it tries to lower down the temperature or the heat of the combustible substance to the extent of bringing it lower to the ignition temperature. So if you by water, it will come below the ignition temperature. Anything below the ignition temperature will not come in flames, will not burn. That is one thing. So water is used to bring down or to cool the combustible material by lowering its temperature. Is it clear? Below the ignition temperature. I have underlined this. Below the ignition temperature. So when you use water to lower down the temperature or lower down the temperature of the combustible material below the ignition temperature, then in this way it will not catch fire, or you will, this is a part of this is in the part of heat. Second, water is a cooling substance, has a cooling effect, because it brings down the ignition temperature of the substance. For all purposes, okay, this is one thing. Water, but one more thing, but water cannot be used to control fires of certain types. Water cannot be used to control fires on electrical equipments, right? If there is a short circuit, and because of short circuit there is fire, when the wires are burning, that kind of wire burning is basically an electrical circuit being failed, or short circuit, or electrical equipment in fault. So the heat and energy which is being produced by electrical equipment, you cannot use water on that, because water is a conductor. Water is a good conductor of electricity. So there is a risk of electrocution. So when you cannot put water on electrical instruments, or electrical instruments which have caught fire, because there is a high risk that current will pass through you. So because water is a conductor of electricity, right? Now, petrol and kerosene oil. Again, petrol and kerosene oil. Second is petrol and kerosene oil. Water can be used for wood and paper fires. So wood and paper fires, water can be used. But for kerosene and oil and for electrical equipments, water cannot be used. Why kerosene and oil? Because see, oils, basically oil is like any kind of oil or petrol is lighter than water. So what happens? Water will settle down, and oil will be at the top. So what happens when it is burning? It will keep on burning, because water is not able to come on the surface of the oil. While oil is on top of water, so it will keep on burning. So basically that's the reason here. Okay, we go. and cool. Okay. For all purposes, CO2. So in these cases, then CO2 is used. What is CO2? Carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is used in the fire extinguishers. You know the fire extinguishers you see in the office. The company Ceasefire. Ceasefire makes fire extinguishers. So you see in offices and everywhere wherever there is a risk of any kind of electrical short circuit and fire due to that, CO2 is used. CO2 basically it has got carbon dioxide, and so carbon dioxide is used in fire extinguishers to obviously extinguish fire. So in fire extinguishers is used. So CO2, now let's see why. CO2 to extinguish fire is used for electrical equipment fire and also to control fire caused by petrol and oils. So in these three cases, it is used. CO2 is used as in fire extinguishers, not water. And let's see why. This is because water will settle at bottom and oil will keep burning. I told you, because water will settle at bottom, water is heavier than oil. So oil will be at the top, and so they will be of no use. And water will not be able to cool oil and bring down its ignition temperature. So it will keep on burning. Again, water will conduct electricity. So again, cannot be used for electrical equipment. Again, water will conduct electricity. So it will not be used for extinguishing electrical fire or fire because of electrical equipment. Instead, CO2 is stored at high temperature. So what happens in a fire extinguisher? CO2 is stored and under high temperature and pressure. So what happens? You see the same thing as in LPG also. Liquefied petroleum gas. Petrol gas is actually in a cylinder in a high pressure and high temperature. So whenever this is done under high pressure, it is liquefied. Same thing happens here. Carbon dioxide is not in gaseous form. It is in a liquid form inside the fire extinguisher. So what happens whenever fire extinguisher is released to extinguish the fire? It comes in contact with air. So whenever the pressure gets released, it is not in a liquid form now. It is in a gaseous form. And so what happens when it is in a gaseous form? It has a cooling effect. CO2 has a cooling effect. It has a cooling effect, and it also takes a big enormous volume. So enormous volume because it is now coming in a gaseous state, and as the pressure gets released, it is in a gaseous state. So it takes a volume like any gas. When it takes volume, it will expand. So it says CO2 is stored at high temperature as liquid in cylinders, and when released, expands enormously in volume. And when released, expands enormously in volume and cools down. As soon as CO2 is released, it cools down when it comes in contact with air, because pressure is released, and because it comes in gaseous state, it takes an enormous volume, and it cools down at the same time. So basically, when this happens, it forms like a blanket around the fire. So around the substance which has caught fire, it actually makes a blanket. Just like when you catch fire, when even a human being catches fire, it is good that he wraps himself in a blanket and he just rolls on the ground. This way he will be able to save himself. So CO2 will blanket the substance. Also because CO2, there's one more thing here. CO2 is heavier than air or oxygen. CO2 is heavier than oxygen. So it will engulf itself. It will surround itself again on the. It will surround itself on the. So it forms like a blanket around the fire and cuts the air supply. Yes. Basically, when it forms a blanket around the instrument which has caught fire, it will cut the air supply because it will settle over the air or oxygen in the atmosphere. CO2 is heavier. It will not allow the oxygen to be there. It will cut down the oxygen supply. Whenever the oxygen supply is cut, it is very easy to settle any kind of fire or any kind of a combustion because the air supply is cut. So this is what it says, and cuts the air supply because CO2 is heavier than oxygen in air, but also brings down the temperature and thus excellent fire extinguisher. So basically three things here. It has a cooling effect, so it will bring down the ignition temperature of the substance. It will cut the air supply because it is heavier than air. Right? These two things we understood, and also because CO2 whenever the CO2 gets released from the extinguisher, it, because of the high pressure being released, it is actually it comes into a gaseous form, and as soon as it comes in the gaseous form, it becomes it expands enormously in the air, and because it is heavier than oxygen, it will cut down the air supply, and it will spread. Also, as I mentioned to it, has a cooling effect. So these things are all equally makes CO2 as a excellent fire extinguisher, as a gas which is used in to extinguish fires in cases of three things. In electrical equipments, it can be used, and it can also be used. So the three things were heat. Electrical equipments, petrol and kerosene oil. Right. So basically, whenever there is a fire because of petrol or kerosene oil, or even if there is a fire due to short circuit in electrical equipment, you can use CO2. So fire extinguisher has CO2 inside there. Right. So now let's move further to the next part of the concepts on the chapter combustion and flame. Next part here, there are three types of combustion: rapid combustion, spontaneous combustion, and explosion. So the kerosene stove or domestic gas stove using LPG is a rapid combustion example. Some substances, even if kept in room temperature, catch fire easily when they come in contact of oxygen, of air. Such are spontaneous substances. Example, phosphorus kept in air. So phosphorus, if you keep in air, it is a spontaneous combustion. So it doesn't need any external substance, external source to catch fire. It is highly inflammable, and so even if you keep in room temperature and it is exposed, it is not closed, so phosphorus will catch fire. It is spontaneous. Spontaneous means immediate. Spontaneous combustion. Rapid is okay. It will not be very slow, but then say you bring a matchstick next to the LPG cylinder, and when it is the knob is on, it will catch fire. So it's rapid. It is not slow. Rapid. But spontaneous is it is just it doesn't need any external thing. Phosphorus, if you keep in open air, it will catch fire. It has to be closely. Has to be vacuum tight. It has not. There has to be no exposure to air. So because phosphorus will catch fire. So this is an example of rapid spontaneous combustion. The case of phosphorus in air. And third is explosion. Basically, you see crackers. Crackers will explode. So explosion is in the case of firecrackers. What happens in explosion? Heat, light, sound, and gas is released. So in all these types of combustion, heat and light is common. Heat and light will be released. In explosion, heat, light, gas, and fire. Heat, light, gas, and what is the fourth thing here? Fourth thing will be released. Heat, light, gas, and sound. Heat, light, gas, and sound will be released in the case of crackers. Or this is a kind of an explosion. Any explosion will have sound and gas as well. But heat and light will be common for all kinds of combustion. And there are three kinds of combustion: rapid, spontaneous, and explosion. Now we come to the next part, students. Flame. You see this candle flame. Here I am talking about the zones, and here I am talking about the colors. So very simple. Three colors. On the left hand side, you can make three colors: blue, yellow, and black. In the flame of the candle, on the right hand side, you can put outer zone, middle zone, inner zone. Very much evident. Outer zone, upper layer, middle zone, middle layer, and inner zone. So inner zone will be black, inner zone will be black, upper zone or the outer zone will be blue, and the middle zone will be yellow. So this is how actually when you see the candle, it has yellow, blue, and black. Black, why it is black? Because let's see why it's black. Black is the unburnt wax vapors. It is due to the unburnt wax vapors. So any kind of a because you see there's a carbon inside this. So carbon is blackish in color. So whenever it's unburnt, so it's a black color. Outer zone is the hottest. Outer zone is the hottest. So it's blue in color. Herein complete combustion takes place. So why it is black? The innermost zone is black because unburnt wax vapors. The combustion doesn't take place, it is unburnt. In yellow zone, which is the middle zone, it is because of partial combustion, half combustion. So that's yellow. But the outer zone is blue. Complete combustion takes place. It is the hottest zone. That's the blue in color. That's what is all about this candle flame. Let's go further. And the outer zone is hottest, blue in color due to complete combustion. Now, these three zones of the flame are dark zone, luminous zone, non-luminous zone. Luminous means which has light, non-luminous it doesn't have light, and third is the dark zone. So basically, the three zones of flame, if the question comes, what are the three zones of the flame? The three zones of the flame are dark zone, luminous zone, and non-luminous zone. And what are the so these three zones basically are outer, middle, and the inner zone. Inner zone is black. Outer middle zone is outer zone is luminous, and then there is a non-luminous zone. So these are the three zones as well. So whenever you get a candle flame, very simple. You just put the zones: inner zone, outer zone, and the middle zone. Colors will be outer zone blue, middle zone yellow, and the inner and the bottom zone, which is the inner zone of the flame of the candle, will be black in color. Again, as I mentioned to you, because of the unburnt wax vapors, which is the innermost zone, which is black, partial combustion, because of which the inner zone is yellow, and the complete combustion, which makes the outer zone hottest, and it is blue in color. Now let's move further. Okay. Now the substances that vaporize during burning, which convert to vapor, like water convert to vapor when we heat water, or when the water comes to the boiling point. So the liquid comes to a gaseous state. So whenever any substance that vaporize during burning, example wax converts to wax through the candle flame, is actually getting converted from solid to gaseous state, right? Gaseous to liquid state. So basically, vapors are gaseous state, right? So from solid, it is getting melt, and then it is evaporating. You don't see the wax anymore. So it's vaporizing due to heat. So whenever the substance will vaporize, example wax candle, it will give flame. While those substances which do not vaporize on burning do not give flame. So this simple. Flame is only because the substance is getting vaporized. Vaporized is only when it gets heated, so it will vaporize. But if the substance is not getting vaporized, it will not give a flame. So we talked about having a matchstick and trying to burn wood, and it was not getting. So a thick piece of wood will not vaporize easily. It will not vaporize easily. So because it is not vaporizing, it is not getting converted to flame. So that's the point. Or in fact, it will take a lot of time to vaporize. So that's why it's not getting converted to flames easily. Now, what it says, the substance. Okay, this I have read to you. Examples are charcoal. Charcoal is a form of coal. Does not vaporize. It doesn't vaporize. While petrol and diesel vaporize on burning. As soon as you bring a matchstick, it will vaporize the calorific value, which I'll just explain to you in the next point. But here what happens, petrol, diesel and all these fuels, they vaporize so easily, even when you light a matchstick and bring it near to it, that it comes to flames. So it is highly inflammable, right? So that's what is mentioned out here. Petrol and diesel vaporize on burning, so is in flames when burned. Goldsmith. Now goldsmith is basically in Hindi you say sonar. So basically when you go to the goldsmith, and your mother will go to goldsmith for some polishing of the gold, for making some changes in the gold shape. So these are the things done by a goldsmith. So when you want to make changes to the pattern or design of your gold ornament, you will go to a goldsmith. So goldsmith will actually have a metal pipe, and he will blow the flame from the metal pipe like this he will do, and he will use the outer zone of the flame, because the outer zone of the flame is the hottest zone, which is blue, which I mentioned to you. So this is what the goldsmith does to make changes to the gold. shape. So Goldsmith blows the outermost zone of the flame by metallic blowpipe, as it is the hottest for melting gold and silver, to give a new shape and change to it. For giving a new shape, I want to change this to the ornament. If you want to change the shape of the ornament, it was a bangle and now you want to make it in a different shape. So basically this is a process which goldsmith will do, right? Okay. Now we come to the calorific value or the ideal fuel. Actually, see, fuel, there are many fuels, kerosene, petrol, diesel. So basically you want to know which fuel is more efficient. So fuel efficiency is the parameter of fuel efficiency, or fuel efficiency is judged by the calorific value. Now let's see what is calorific value. We know that if the calorific value of the fuel is more, then the fuel is more efficient. But we need to know what is calorific value. Now let's see what is calorific value. A calorific value, the amount of heat energy produced on complete combustion of 1 kg of fuel is called its calorific value. What is it? Very important. The amount of heat energy produced by burning 1 kg of a fuel, 1 kg of a fuel is called the calorific value of the fuel. So when you burn 1 kg of a fuel, a lot of heat energy will be produced. That is in kilojoules. Joule is unit of energy. A lot of heat energy. Joule is the unit of heat. So 1000 joules is 1 kilojoule, 1 kJ. So basically it is in kilojoules, because this is the kind of energy, which is heat energy, which is being released when you burn fuels like kerosene, petrol, diesel. So now let's see the values. Higher the calorific value, better is the fuel efficiency. 1 kg of fuel is called its. So basically, when the amount of heat energy produced on complete combustion of 1 kg of fuel is called its calorific value. It is expressed in heat produced in kilojoules upon units in kgs of fuel. Heat produced in kilojoules, you can get a very simple numerical. They will simply say that this is the energy produced in kilojoules on burning 1 kg of a fuel. What is the calorific value? Simply put the formula: heat produced in kilojoules upon unit in kgs of fuel, or kJ, which is kilojoules upon kg, because it will always be in kilojoules. Now let's see you just see the examples here. So calorific value of substances per kg. I have given you a list here, which is in your NCERT as well. Cow dung, LPG, petrol, biogas, wood, kerosene, coal, hydrogen. Now, highest is hydrogen, 1,50,000 kilojoules per kg. 1,50,000 kilojoules per kg. We are trying to harness hydrogen, which will be very efficient fuel, but it is highly inflammable. It is so high energy produced in just burning 1 kg of hydrogen, but it is very dangerous, highly inflammable, can catch fire, and so basically there are a lot of precautions to be taken. So, but in the future we might be using it, or maybe we have started using in some developed countries, but a lot has to be seen. This is hydrogen. Coal. So basically, first is hydrogen, then LPG second. LPG is 55,000 kilojoules per kg. Then third order is kerosene and petrol. Kerosene and petrol will have the same calorific value. It is 45,000 for kerosene, and for petrol again 45,000. Then fourth is biogas. Biogas uses methane. You see methane, and biogas is used in as a domestic fuel in villages. So biogas 35,000 to 45,000 kilojoules per kg. Then fifth is your coal, and then wood, and then cow dung. Cow dung is 6,000 to 8,000 kilojoules per kg. That's energy being released, heat energy being released. And for wood and coal, coal is a little higher. Coal is how much? 25,000 to 33,000 kilojoules per kilojoules per kg. And wood is how much? Wood is 17,000 to 22,000. 17 to 22,000. That's kilojoules per kg. Basically, you don't have to remember these, but in numericals, when you can get numericals, these will be figures which will be mentioned there. So you'll have a fair idea. This is kind of question which can come. Basically, the least is cow dung, which will still be 6,000 to 8,000. Between this figure will be for 6,000 to 8,000 kilojoules per kg, right? So I think that's clear to you now. Let's move to the last part of this chapter, which is burning of fuels and its harmful effects. So basically, we all know that whenever you burn fuels, it causes pollution, so there are harmful effects. Basically, SO2 is a sulfur dioxide gas is released, and also nitrogen oxides are released. So just remember sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides are released in the atmosphere whenever there is a burning of fuel, and this is not good for your respiratory system and can lead to asthma and all. So now let's see what happens here. So basically there are 4 harmful effects when you burn fuel. First is carbon fuels like wood, coal, petroleum. Basically they are carbon fuels. So in the previous chapter I also had one video on coal and petroleum. So basically by the process of carbonization, these are all carbon fuels, or you can say fossil fuels, right? So when they have carbon in them, wood, coal and petroleum release unburned carbon particles. So basically unburned, whenever you use the word unburned, which means it is not fully it is not burned fully. So unburned carbon particles will be released in the atmosphere. These fine particles are dangerous pollutants that can cause many respiratory diseases including asthma, which is a shortage of breath. So basically unburned carbon particles are released when you burn wood, coal and petroleum. This is what it says, and this can lead to asthma or maybe respiratory problems including asthma. Now second is incomplete combustion of these like coal produce a poisonous gas. Now in another aspect is coal. So basically what happens when there is an incomplete combustion of coal, it also releases a gas which is carbon monoxide. See, CO2 is CO2. When one atom of oxygen is not there, because oxygen supply is less, then it becomes CO. CO is carbon monoxide, which is a very poisonous gas. So what happens? It is advised that you should not sleep in a room which is closed, where there is no ventilation, because there is no oxygen. And if you are burning coal and you are just sleeping, so you will not wake up because you are asleep. So what will happen? It can also lead to death, because there will be suffocation and you will not be aware because you are sleeping. What happens? Coal gets converted. Coal becomes coal. Anyways, coal will be unburnt. So because there is no air coming, and because of shortage of air, what will happen? Carbon monoxide will be, not carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide will be released, and since there is no ventilation, it will keep on piling up and you may die due to suffocation. So never sleep in a room which is enclosed, which has no ventilation. In case you see that there is a coal which is burning, you just have to take it out. Don't keep it inside a room. So that's one thing which is very important. So this is another harmful effect of coal, and we have seen some tragedies happening because of this in villages. So this is one point which is important, because you have to mention here about carbon monoxide, which is a poisonous gas. Then combustion of most fuels produce CO2 in the environment. This is important. Combustion of most fuels produce CO2 in the environment. So what is CO2? Carbon dioxide. And whenever there is a combustion of fuel and a carbon dioxide is released, it leads to global warming. What is global warming? It is increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. When the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is more, then it is not able to actually go to the upper level of the atmosphere. So it gets trapped in the inner atmosphere, and that leads to increasing of temperature of the earth. When this happens, it can lead to melting of ice caps and rise in sea level. And when this happens, it can result in floods and submerging of the low-lying areas. So basically the whole nature gets disrupted. Increased concentration of CO2 will increase the global climate of the earth, because of which the ice caps will melt. This will lead to rise in the sea level, and can also lead to submerge of the low-lying areas. Right? So this is how the whole nature gets affected. So that's another harmful effect of burning of fuels, because all the fuels will release CO2. Now burning of coal and diesel, including petrol engines. Now this is basically on the petrol engines and diesel engines. And so burning of coal and diesel, including petrol engines, releases SO2, which I told you, sulfur dioxide. So sulfur dioxide is released whenever you use petrol engine or diesel engine, and also it also releases a very suffocating and corrosive gas, which is SO2. SO2 is a very suffocating and corrosive gas. right? And also oxides of nitrogen. So these two things I was telling you are released by the engines of petrol and diesel. So heavy vehicles, which have a diesel engine like trucks and buses, so they will release what? SO2 and NO2, oxides of nitrogen. So what happens when this mixes with water? Definitely will not mix this with water, it will mix with rainwater. So whenever rain comes and in the atmosphere with the effect of rainwater, it will get mixed and it will lead to acid rain. How acid rain? Is formed SO2 and oxides of nitrogen gets mixed with water and rainwater, and it produces acid rain. Acid rain is very harmful. It can harm soil, crops and even buildings because it is very corrosive. The buildings will get corroded and soil and crops will definitely get spoiled. So nowadays CNG is being replaced by petrol and diesel engines. It is a very cleaner fuel, though the pollutants are there, but they are less in less quantity, in smaller quantities. So this is what it says. CNG is being replaced now by petrol and diesel, that is less polluting, cleaner fuel, and as pollutants are in smaller amounts. So this was the whole chapter, basically about combustion and flame. Important aspects of this chapter will be flame, candle flame, and the zones and the colors of the flame. Then we discussed about the calorific value and how a question can come on the calorific value. Then certainly types of combustion, 3 types of combustion. So overall chapter is not very difficult, but it's an important chapter because the very concepts of the ignition temperature and combustion are very relevant and important. And I think this was the whole chapter. There also will be a descriptive link as in all my chapters of science. You just click the descriptive link and you can go through all the important questions and answers, and whenever you sit for exams, the concepts and these question and answers will be highly helpful for you. I hope you enjoyed this chapter and you are keeping yourself safe by being indoors because COVID is increasing, and I request all my students to stay indoors as far as possible. In fact, don't even think nowadays for a few days, just remain indoors, and everything is available online. Just try to be safe and do enjoy indoors with your family and friends. Play chess, play good games, and keep yourself active, and keep yourself busy. And I advise you to play chess. And definitely, if you like my video, give a like, subscribe to my channel, and do not forget to press the bell icon for further notifications of my upcoming videos. Till then, you all have a great time. Enjoy, stay healthy, fit and fine.